There is a pain that does not manifest in open wounds, but in a silent lament of the soul, the feeling that the most precious years of your life have been subtly stolen. You achieved, you worked hard, but when you look back, the mirror of your soul reflects an emptiness, a life lived in the name of a persona, not your authentic self. The whispering doubt still echoes. Am I enough? Today, we begin a journey back home, not to build more, but to untangle the knot that has imprisoned your heart. This is the path of reparenting, Carl Jung's method for integrating the shadow and, finally, healing the inner child that dwells within you. If you feel like you've been running on a treadmill, seeking validation that never arrives, this is your permission to stop. The soul, when silenced, falls ill. The truth that wisdom whispers is that you were never truly broken. You simply weren't being heard. The source of your pain is not your failure, but the compensation system that your inner child created to survive. For a long time, you sought love through excessive effort. It's time to flip the map. The universe listens to you when you learn to listen to yourself. This is the pain of our time, the feeling that precious years were lost or stolen by inauthenticity and developmental trauma. The cycle begins with the silent question, am I enough? The answer, learned in childhood, led to overcompensation and the construction of a functional persona, a mask of perfection, relentless productivity, or excessive people-pleasing. You became a tireless seeker of validation, believing that success, effort, and approval would be the key to finally earning the love your wounded inner child needed. The problem isn't the effort, it's the trap of seeking admiration, the "you are impressive," instead of true recognition, the "I see you." Admiration seeks what you do. Recognition embraces who you are. In this external search, we repeat patterns, attracting people and situations that mirror our old wounds, forcing the inner child to act out in the adult drama. The true paradox is that, despite external success, the emptiness persists, because the inner child, your authentic core, has been neglected. The way to reclaim the years is not to do more, but to take off the mask. But to take off this mask, it's crucial to confront the point of origin, the silent repetition of trauma that the wounded child orchestrates in adult life. The wound of unworthiness is a developmental trauma, not a character flaw. The child, who is born whole, develops this wound through experiences of rejection, conditional love, or neglect, where their value became dependent on their performance. In adult life, this unhealed child takes the wheel through Jungian complexes, clusters of memory and emotion that trigger survival behaviors, such as perfectionism or the inability to set boundaries. The wounded child lacks the maturity to handle present responsibilities, and therefore, the disproportionate reaction to small events is the clearest sign that it is in control of your life. The great fear, the shadow many of you carry, is the painful recognition of having repeated your parents' toxic patterns with your own children or partners. This is not a moral failure. It is the persona fatigue, your authentic self screaming for freedom. Healing, therefore, is not about blaming or fighting the wounded child, but about giving it the safety it never received. The first step is to recognize that this suffering is intergenerational, and you are the final point of healing. As the magician Rumi taught us, the wound is the place where the light enters you. This is the wisdom that leads us to the great turning point, the inflection point where we discover that we are the source of healing for ourselves. The solution for the feeling of hopelessness and the inability to love oneself is reparenting. Healing no longer requires a heroic effort in the external world, but an active presence in the internal world. You need to become the secure caregiver that your inner child always needed. This is the moment to replace the voice of the inner critic, "What is wrong with you?" with the compassionate sound of the comforter, "Of course you feel that way. I am here." Reparenting is the daily practice of giving yourself what was missing, transforming your internal temple into a place of unconditional safety. The practical focus of this awakening involves, first, giving yourself unconditional permission to feel all emotions, without judgment. Healing begins where you stop fighting what you feel. Second, unlearning the internalized voices, the ones that say, "You are selfish for setting boundaries." Third, providing emotional security, teaching your child that it doesn't need to prove its worth to exist. This is the turning point where you stop begging the world to listen to you and, finally, start listening to yourself. This unconditional self-acceptance is the fertile ground that, next, allows us to face the most feared parts of ourselves, the shadow work. True self-esteem is a state of wholeness, not perfection. This is where shadow work, Jung, becomes crucial. The shadow is the repository of your authentic parts, righteous anger, sensitive sadness, spontaneous joy, your wild self, which were repressed in childhood to ensure love and survival. The viewer who feels empty and disconnected carries the weight of this repression. Your wild self, your intuition, your untamable creativity, your essence, is exiled. The illness of the soul arises when we try to divide ourselves into acceptable and unacceptable parts. You are not broken. You are in transition. Integration is the opposite of division. The first step is the act of humility to accept imperfection and let go of the obsessive need for constant progress. The soul is not in a hurry. It has rhythm. Your worth is not a prize to be won, but a truth to be lived. Shadow work invites you to stop proving your worth to others and start living it fully for yourself. The poet Gibran Khalil Gibran summarized this truth. You are good when you are one with yourselves. And how does this new life manifest? What are the practical and visible signs that you are, finally, reclaiming the years that were stolen from you? If reparenting is the path, how do you know you are finally coming home? The recovery of your self-worth is not a mystical event, but a visible transformation of behavior and mindset. They are the practical signs that confirm you are reclaiming the stolen years. The deepest sign is the shift from scarcity to sufficiency. Healing manifests in daily actions that prioritize peace over approval. You begin to: Number 1. Stop begging for crumbs of love or attention, as you become the source of your own worth. Number 2. No longer be afraid to disappoint others, as your authenticity becomes your priority. Number 3. Say no, without feeling that soul-trapping guilt. Number 4. Stop seeking external validation, recognizing that the only necessary witness is your soul. Number 5. Protect your peace and the stillness of your internal temple as if they were oxygen. The most important sign of all is the feeling of coming home to yourself. You stop asking permission to exist and begin to inhabit your body with total authenticity. You don't chase the light. You become the lamp lit in the dark. The path of emotional healing is the reunion with your authenticity, the union between your wounded self and your spiritual self. The awakening of consciousness is not a mystical event, but a daily act of emotional honesty. Your worth is not in everything you did to be loved, but in your courage to love what has always been rejected within you. I invite you to a brief moment of presence. Close your eyes and imagine the inner child that lives within you. She is tired, perhaps scared, but she is alive. Place your hands over your heart and symbolically say to her, "I see you. I am here. You are safe with me." This is the first step of reparenting, the act of becoming the safe dwelling. Silence is not absence. It is the presence without noise that heals. Remember, you were never unworthy. You simply weren't heard. Jung's path is the same as the soul's. Integrate what was divided, love what was rejected, and remember what has always been true. Life is not a straight ladder. It is a river that meanders to teach gentleness. If this message has touched the inner child that lives within you, awakened upon hearing these words, allow yourself to continue. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to walk with us along this road of fertile silence, discovery, and reconnection. Share your experience in the comments. Your sharing is also a seed of healing for other hearts. And if you seek a safe harbor to nourish this newly lit flame and find those who walk at the same frequency, our community is the sanctuary where fertile silence is shared and deepened. Remember, wholeness is the true strength, not the forced smile. Honoring your truth is the only way. And to continue expanding your sanctuary of clarity, we suggest the video in the card. May it be a gentle breath on your journey. Peace and light.